Have you ever realized that the very thing keeping you safe is also keeping you small? The walls you've built around comfort, the routines that feel familiar, the habits that soothe fear. They are quietly whispering, stay here, you are enough, while quietly stealing your potential, your purpose, your destiny. Growth does not reside in safety. It lives in the tension of the unknown, in the space where fear meets courage, where uncertainty becomes opportunity. If you are waiting for a perfect moment, know this: the perfect moment will never. True transformation demands that you step forward before comfort releases its hold. To break free from comfort, you must first detach from attachment to routine, from attachment to approval, and even from attachment to your own limiting beliefs. Emotional and spiritual detachment is not abandonment, it is mastery. It is the ability to face the unknown without being ruled by fear, to act without being enslaved by hesitation, to step boldly even when certainty is absent. Only when the heart is free from attachment can the mind expand beyond limits, and only then can action become deliberate, courageous, and transformative. Stepping beyond your comfort zone requires deliberate courage. It requires a refusal to accept the boundaries that you or others have set around your life. Every step into discomfort is a test of resolve, a declaration that your potential matters more than temporary ease. You will encounter resistance. You will meet criticism, doubt, and failure. These are not signs that you are weak. They are proof that you are alive, that you are moving toward growth, that you are confronting limits that no longer serve your purpose. The unknown is a mirror. It reflects both your fears and your untapped power. With every challenge faced, every fear confronted, you expand your capacity, sharpen your clarity, and deepen your resilience. Confidence grows not from comfort, but from repeated acts of courageous action, from embracing the discomfort and realizing that you are capable, resourceful, and destined for more than familiarity allows. Your vision, your purpose, your calling, they are waiting on the other side of fear. Comfort zones are convenient, but they are cages disguised as safety. To achieve more, to grow into the life you were meant to lead, you must step forward, even trembling, even uncertain, with faith that courage is greater than fear, and action is greater than hesitation. Transformation is not granted, it is claimed by those who dare to push past limits, who refuse to settle for what is easy, and who choose every day to live beyond the confines of comfort. The path of growth is never comfortable, but it is the only way to unlock the fullness of your potential, the depth of your purpose, and the magnitude of your impact. Every limit you break, every fear you face, every step you take beyond familiarity brings you closer to the extraordinary life waiting for the courage to claim it. Comfort zones are deceptively alluring. They offer the illusion of safety, predictability, and control, making us feel secure in our routines, habits, and familiar surroundings. Yet beneath this sense of security lies a quiet trap, a limitation that gradually erodes our potential and narrows our vision of what is possible. The very patterns and behaviors that make life comfortable can prevent us from experiencing growth, transformation, and true fulfillment. Comfort zones, by their nature, resist change, and when we cling to them, we limit not only our experiences, but also the expansion of our mind, character, and spirit. At the core of the comfort zone is fear, the fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, and fear of uncertainty. These fears manifest as rationalizations, excuses, and justifications that convince us it is safer to stay where we are, to avoid risks, and to maintain the familiar. While comfort zones protect us from immediate discomfort, they also shield us from opportunity, challenge, and the very experiences that cultivate resilience, wisdom, and mastery. The paradox is clear. By seeking safety, we often deny ourselves the growth that only comes through stretching beyond perceived limits. Understanding that comfort zones are limiting is the first step toward breaking free. They are invisible boundaries that often go unrecognized because familiarity feels natural and effortless. We may not notice how small and confined our world has become until we are confronted with the possibility of expansion. Every great achievement, every moment of transformation begins when we dare to step outside of these invisible barriers. The decision to leave comfort is a deliberate act of courage, a choice to prioritize growth over ease, purpose over convenience, and potential over complacency. Breaking free from comfort zones also requires awareness of the subtle ways we cling to them. Patterns of routine, avoidance of challenge, and reliance on familiar approval systems all reinforce the sense of safety. These habits may feel benign, but they quietly dictate the scope of our lives. Each time we choose comfort over growth, we reinforce the limitations we have unconsciously accepted. Over time, this creates a life defined not by possibility or purpose, but by restriction and fear of the unknown. The transformative power of stepping beyond comfort is undeniable. Growth resides in discomfort, progress is forged in challenge, and achievement emerges when we dare to confront the unfamiliar. Every act of courage outside of comfort, whether it is learning a new skill, facing a difficult conversation, or pursuing a bold goal, expands our capacity, reshapes our mindset, and strengthens our confidence. The more we engage with discomfort deliberately, the more resilient, resourceful, and capable we become. Ultimately, comfort zones are a choice. They are not circumstances imposed upon us, but patterns we accept, often unconsciously. By recognizing their limitations, cultivating courage, and committing to intentional action, we open the door to growth, transformation, and success. The life we truly desire, the life of purpose, impact, and fulfillment, exists beyond the boundaries of comfort. To reach it, we must be willing to step into the unknown, embrace challenge, and break free from the invisible chains that safety and familiarity have imposed upon us. True progress begins where fear and uncertainty exist, because growth is inherently tied to stepping beyond what feels safe and familiar. The human spirit is designed for expansion, for exploration, and for challenge, yet the mind often resists what it does not recognize. Comfort zones offer predictability, but they also create stagnation, and the moment we cling too tightly to safety, we deny ourselves the opportunity to evolve into the fullness of our potential. Real transformation requires moving into the tension of the unknown, where fear is present but courage is chosen anyway. This is where the seeds of achievement are sown, and where character, resilience, and mastery are forged through deliberate action. Fear is not the enemy, it is a guide. It signals the edges of your current capacity and the threshold of what you are yet to embrace. When you feel the discomfort of uncertainty, it is evidence that you are standing at the doorway of growth. Those who refuse to step beyond this threshold may remain safe, but they also remain limited, unable to access the deeper wisdom, opportunities, and accomplishments that lie on the other side. The act of moving forward despite fear is an exercise in courage and self-discipline, and it is through this repeated practice that strength, confidence, and capability are cultivated. Uncertainty, like fear, is a natural part of life and an essential companion on the path to achievement. The unknown challenges us to think creatively, to adapt, and to develop resilience. It forces us to rely on our inner resources rather than external assurances, and it demands that we trust in our capacity to navigate circumstances we cannot yet fully understand. The process of confronting uncertainty transforms how we relate to life itself. We learn to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for growth, and we develop the confidence to take bold steps even when outcomes are unclear. Stepping into discomfort is also a process of self-discovery. In moments of challenge and uncertainty, our true character is revealed. We discover strengths, talents, and capacities that were previously dormant, and we learn lessons that cannot be taught in comfort. Each encounter with fear and uncertainty becomes a mirror reflecting both our limitations and our potential, inviting us to expand, stretch, and redefine what is possible for ourselves. By embracing discomfort, we align action with purpose, and our growth becomes intentional rather than incidental. Consistency is critical in this process. Growth is not achieved through sporadic acts of courage, but through a disciplined commitment to step beyond fear repeatedly. Each small act of daring builds momentum, strengthens resilience, and broadens capacity. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes familiar territory, and the fear that initially loomed begins to diminish in power. This is the essence of pushing past limits, consistent, deliberate action in the face of fear and uncertainty, guided by purpose, vision, and the unwavering belief in one's potential. Ultimately, progress cannot exist without risk. Achievements, transformation, and the realization of potential are inseparable from the willingness to confront fear and uncertainty head-on. Those who embrace discomfort intentionally discover that growth, fulfillment, and success reside not in safety, but in the deliberate choice to move beyond what is familiar, to stretch beyond perceived limits, and to embrace the unknown with courage, faith, and resilience. Emotional and spiritual detachment is one of the most profound tools for breaking free from comfort zones because it allows you to act with clarity, courage, and purpose without being enslaved by fear, attachment, or external validation. Too often, we are held back not by the world around us, but by the attachments we carry within. Attachments to routine, to approval, to outcomes, and even to our own limiting beliefs. These attachments create invisible chains that make the familiar feel safe and the unknown feel threatening. Detachment, however, is not about disengaging from life or becoming indifferent. It is about freeing yourself from the constraints of dependency and expectation so that you can move boldly into growth, risk, and transformation. When you cultivate emotional detachment, fear loses its paralyzing grip. You begin to recognize that discomfort and uncertainty are not signs of inadequacy, but signals that you are stepping toward expansion. Detachment allows you to observe your fears without being consumed by them, to assess challenges without reacting impulsively, and to act decisively even when outcomes are uncertain. By releasing the need for constant reassurance or approval, you create space to trust your inner guidance and align your actions with purpose rather than convenience. Spiritual detachment, meanwhile, strengthens resilience by rooting your sense of worth and direction in something deeper than circumstance. When your identity and value are anchored in your principles, vision, and inner strength, external obstacles lose their power to destabilize you. This perspective allows you to face criticism, failure, and resistance without being shaken, because your sense of self is not dependent on comfort, agreement, or validation. Detachment transforms fear and resistance into opportunities for growth, enabling you to take bold steps that expand your capacity and redefine what is possible. Detachment also enhances clarity and discernment. When you are not emotionally entangled with outcomes or overly invested in remaining safe, you can evaluate risks, opportunities, and challenges with precision. Decisions are guided by insight and purpose rather than habit, habitually safe choices, or fear-driven avoidance. This clarity is crucial when pushing past comfort zones, because growth requires deliberate action and a willingness to confront uncertainty with discernment and courage. Furthermore, emotional and spiritual detachment fosters freedom, the freedom to experiment, to fail, to explore, and to stretch beyond limits. When you are not bound by attachment, every step outside your comfort zone becomes a conscious choice rather than a forced effort. You act from a position of inner strength, confidence, and self-mastery, and each encounter with discomfort becomes a teacher, each challenge a mirror reflecting your latent potential. Ultimately, detachment is the bridge between fear and action. It allows you to move beyond what is familiar, to step boldly into the unknown, and to expand your capabilities without being hindered by attachment or resistance. By mastering emotional and spiritual detachment, you cultivate the courage, clarity, and inner strength necessary to leave comfort behind, push past limits, and achieve a life defined by purpose, growth, and authentic transformation. Growth requires deliberate action, consistency, and the courage to face the unknown, because transformation does not occur passively. It is not enough to dream of change, to hope for progress, or to imagine a life beyond the familiar. Real growth demands that you step forward again and again, even when fear, uncertainty, or discomfort is present. Every moment of hesitation strengthens the pull of comfort and reinforces the limitations you have unconsciously accepted. It is through intentional, repeated action that boundaries are tested, capacities are expanded, and potential is realized. Growth is a practice, a discipline, and a commitment to choose progress over ease every single day. Deliberate action begins with clarity. You must identify not only the areas where growth is needed, but also the specific steps that will move you beyond your current limitations. This requires honesty and self-awareness, the ability to confront your fears, acknowledge your weaknesses, and recognize the patterns that keep you small. Once clarity is established, courage becomes the fuel that propels you forward. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Each step into discomfort, each challenge embraced, builds the momentum necessary for sustained transformation. Consistency is equally vital. Growth is not a one-time event, it is a continuous process. Small, repeated actions compound over time, creating strength, skill, and resilience that cannot be achieved through sporadic effort. The person who commits to deliberate action consistently develops habits that reinforce expansion, turning discomfort into familiar territory and building confidence that grows silently but powerfully. With each consistent effort, resistance diminishes, limits are redefined, and courage becomes a natural companion to action. Facing the unknown requires detachment. Emotional and spiritual detachment allows you to act without being paralyzed by fear, opinion, or expectation. When your sense of self-worth and purpose is independent of external approval or immediate results, you are free to experiment, to fail, and to learn from experience. Each encounter with uncertainty becomes a teacher, each misstep an opportunity to refine your approach, and each challenge a chance to strengthen your capacity. Detachment transforms the unknown from a source of anxiety into a landscape of possibility and growth. Deliberate action, consistency, and courage also cultivate self-mastery. When you choose growth over comfort repeatedly, you train your mind, body, and spirit to respond intentionally rather than reactively. You develop resilience in the face of setbacks, clarity in moments of doubt, and confidence in your ability to navigate the unfamiliar. This mastery becomes the foundation upon which all meaningful achievement is built, enabling you to push past perceived limits and expand the horizons of what is possible in your life. Ultimately, growth is not accidental, it is claimed through conscious effort. By committing to deliberate action, practicing consistency, and embracing courage in the face of uncertainty, you transform discomfort into opportunity, fear into fuel, and limitations into stepping stones. Every step taken with intention moves you closer to the life of purpose, impact, and fulfillment that exists beyond the confines of comfort and familiarity. Breaking limits begins with the recognition that most boundaries exist not in the world around us, but within ourselves. We often accept limitations imposed by fear, doubt, past failures, or societal expectations, and these self-imposed boundaries quietly dictate the scope of our potential. To push past limits, one must first identify these invisible barriers, confront them with honesty, and make the conscious choice to redefine what is possible. The act of challenging your own assumptions about what you can achieve is both uncomfortable and necessary, for growth never occurs within the confines of the familiar. The process of breaking limits requires introspection. You must examine the beliefs that shape your actions and question whether they serve your purpose or restrain it. Often we are tethered to narratives of inadequacy, fear of judgment, or perceived incapacity that have been reinforced over years. These narratives convince us to stay safe, to avoid risk, and to settle for mediocrity. By consciously confronting these self-imposed constraints, you reclaim the authority over your own life. The moment you recognize that these boundaries are not immutable, that they are constructs of your mind, you open the door to deliberate transformation. Action is the essential next step. Breaking limits is not achieved through thought alone, but through courageous, consistent effort. Each time you step into discomfort, try something unfamiliar, or challenge a long-held belief, you push the edge of what you once thought possible. Every small victory over hesitation, doubt, or fear reinforces the belief that limits are flexible and that growth is attainable. This cumulative effect strengthens resilience, enhances confidence, and reshapes your perception of possibility. Resistance is inevitable. As you push beyond familiar boundaries, you will encounter internal and external forces that seek to maintain the status quo. Fear will surface, doubt will whisper, and criticism may arrive from those around you. These experiences are not setbacks, they are indicators that you are on the path of expansion. Every challenge faced is an opportunity to fortify your inner strength, refine your approach, and deepen your understanding of your own capacity. Breaking limits is as much about mental and emotional resilience as it is about physical or practical achievement. Purpose serves as the compass in this process. When your actions are guided by a clear vision, breaking limits becomes intentional rather than reckless. Purpose aligns courage with direction, ensuring that each effort contributes meaningfully to your growth. It is not about reckless risk-taking or superficial achievement. It is about expanding your capacity to realize the life and impact you were meant to create. Ultimately, breaking past limits is an act of self-liberation. It transforms fear into fuel, hesitation into momentum, and self-doubt into confidence. By identifying boundaries, confronting them courageously, and acting with consistency and purpose, you reclaim your potential and step into a life defined not by limitation, but by possibility, resilience, and the extraordinary results that come from daring to exceed what you once believed was possible. Resistance, criticism, and failure are not obstacles to be avoided. They are essential companions on the path beyond comfort zones. Every person who has achieved remarkable growth or transformed their life has faced opposition both from within and from the world around them. Resistance often appears as internal doubt, fear, or hesitation, while external forces may take the form of criticism, skepticism, or disapproval. These experiences, rather than being signs of inadequacy, are proof that you are stepping into uncharted territory, stretching beyond familiar limits, and challenging the boundaries that have previously confined you. Embracing these forces as tools for growth is a crucial mindset shift for anyone committed to breaking free from comfort. Internal resistance is the mind's natural mechanism to maintain safety. When you push toward discomfort, the brain reacts by amplifying fear, rationalizing avoidance, or creating distractions. This resistance is not an enemy, it is a signal that you are operating at the edge of your current capacity. Recognizing it allows you to approach growth strategically, using awareness and discipline to move forward despite fear. Each moment you act in spite of internal resistance strengthens your willpower, builds resilience, and expands the range of what you perceive as possible. Criticism, particularly when unwelcome, often challenges your confidence and tests your commitment. Many avoid stepping beyond comfort zones because they fear judgment or rejection. Yet, criticism is an invaluable teacher. When approached with detachment and discernment, it reveals areas for refinement, highlights blind spots, and illuminates aspects of your journey that require attention. Rather than reacting defensively, you can use criticism as a mirror for self-improvement, extracting wisdom without allowing external opinions to dictate your worth or halt your progress. Failure is perhaps the most powerful catalyst for growth. It is an unavoidable component of stepping into the unknown and attempting what has not been done before. The lessons embedded in failure are transformative. They teach perseverance, strategy, humility, and adaptability. By reframing failure as a guide rather than a verdict, you cultivate resilience and the courage to continue, understanding that each misstep is part of the iterative process of mastery. Embracing resistance, criticism, and failure also fosters emotional and spiritual detachment. When you are not emotionally enslaved by discomfort, approval, or outcome, you are free to act from purpose rather than reaction. This detachment allows you to process challenges with clarity, respond to obstacles with wisdom, and continue moving forward with intention and courage. Ultimately, resistance, criticism, and failure are not signs to retreat. They are signals that you are pushing boundaries and evolving. By integrating these experiences into your journey, you transform adversity into momentum, fear into fuel, and setbacks into stepping stones. They are essential companions that refine your strength, sharpen your clarity, and propel you toward achievement, purpose, and the realization of your highest potential. Pushing past limits strengthens inner confidence because each deliberate act of courage reinforces the belief in your own capability. Confidence is not an inherent trait bestowed at birth. It is cultivated through experience, perseverance, and the repeated choice to act despite fear, uncertainty, or discomfort. When you consistently step beyond familiar boundaries, you gather evidence of your own resilience and competence. Each challenge faced, each obstacle overcome, and each risk embraced becomes a testament to your inner strength, gradually transforming hesitation into assurance and self-doubt into certainty. Inner confidence is anchored not in external validation, but in the knowledge that you are capable of navigating life's uncertainties with composure and skill. The process of breaking free from comfort zones exposes you to situations where the outcome is unknown and the stakes feel high. In these moments, the reliance on inner resources becomes essential. You begin to trust your judgment, intuition, and ability to respond effectively. This self-trust is a profound form of empowerment because it is independent of approval, circumstance, or affirmation from others. Confidence rooted in experience and action is far more resilient than confidence built on perception or external recognition. Stepping beyond limits repeatedly also strengthens the mind's capacity to manage fear. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty, but each encounter with discomfort provides an opportunity to regulate emotional responses and act deliberately. Over time, fear loses its paralyzing effect and courage becomes habitual. This process builds a robust inner foundation where challenges are no longer threats, but opportunities for growth. The more frequently you confront discomfort and succeed, or even simply persist despite temporary failure, the more confident you become in your ability to handle future challenges. Moreover, pushing past limits cultivates a profound sense of self-mastery. Inner confidence grows when you recognize that your achievements are the direct result of your choices, effort, and commitment. You develop the understanding that you are not defined by past failures, the opinions of others, or the limitations you once accepted. Instead, you are defined by your willingness to act, to stretch, and to engage fully with life's possibilities. This mastery strengthens resilience, deepens purpose, and empowers you to approach challenges with clarity and determination. Breaking limits also nurtures authenticity. Confidence deepens when your actions align with your values and aspirations rather than conformity or expectation. Each step beyond comfort reinforces your integrity and your willingness to pursue what truly matters, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. This alignment between action and purpose creates quiet, unshakable assurance that radiates from within, independent of circumstance. Ultimately, inner confidence is the natural byproduct of pushing past limits consistently. Each challenge embraced, each fear confronted, and each boundary expanded adds to a cumulative sense of empowerment, capability, and self-assurance. By deliberately stepping into discomfort and confronting the unknown, you cultivate a confidence that is steadfast, resilient, and deeply rooted in your own strength, wisdom, and capacity to thrive beyond the confines of familiarity. Vision and purpose act as the compass when pushing beyond comfort zones because they provide direction, motivation, and meaning to every step taken into the unknown. Without a clear sense of why you are moving forward, discomfort becomes daunting, fear becomes paralyzing, and hesitation can easily dominate. Vision is the mental image of the life you are striving to create, while purpose is the deep, driving reason behind your actions. Together, they anchor your efforts, ensuring that each act of courage is not random or reactive, but intentional and aligned with the life you are meant to lead. When you confront fear or uncertainty, a strong vision gives you a destination, something to reach for beyond temporary discomfort. It transforms fear from a barrier into a challenge to overcome. Purpose fuels persistence, providing the energy to continue even when obstacles arise or outcomes seem uncertain. Without vision and purpose, stepping beyond comfort zones can feel aimless, exhausting, or futile. With them, however, every act of courage becomes meaningful. Every risk undertaken carries value, and every failure becomes a lesson that moves you closer to fulfillment. Vision and purpose also sharpen discernment. When your goals are aligned with your highest values, you can distinguish between opportunities that truly contribute to your growth and distractions that merely satisfy temporary comfort or external expectation. This clarity allows you to prioritize effectively, make deliberate choices, and act with confidence even in the face of uncertainty. It reduces the influence of fear, doubt, and criticism, because your focus is on a horizon that transcends momentary discomfort. Moreover, vision and purpose cultivate resilience. Challenges, setbacks, and criticism are inevitable when stepping beyond comfort zones, but those guided by a clear sense of direction are less likely to be deterred. Purpose acts as an anchor in turbulent moments, providing the stability to persevere and the perspective to see temporary obstacles as necessary steps in a larger journey. Every encounter with difficulty becomes a lesson, every failure a stepping stone, and every moment of resistance a confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Vision and purpose also enhance motivation. The drive to remain within comfort zones is often fueled by the desire to avoid pain, uncertainty, or judgment. But when you have a compelling vision and a deep sense of purpose, motivation arises not from avoidance, but from attraction. The desire to realize your potential, contribute meaningfully, and fulfill your calling. This form of motivation is far more sustainable because it is internal, aligned with your authentic self, and rooted in long-term fulfillment rather than temporary gratification. Ultimately, vision and purpose transform the act of leaving comfort zones from a fearful leap into the unknown, into a deliberate, empowered journey. They provide the clarity to navigate uncertainty, the courage to confront fear, and the resilience to persist through setbacks. By aligning your actions with your higher purpose and maintaining focus on your vision, you are able to step boldly into discomfort, expand your capacity, and move toward the extraordinary life that exists beyond the boundaries of familiarity. Every challenge becomes an opportunity, every risk a doorway, and every step forward a declaration that you are committed to living fully, courageously, and purposefully. Expanding personal capacity involves more than physical effort or acquiring new skills. It is a holistic process that integrates mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. True expansion of capacity requires aligning thought, belief, and action with a higher purpose, allowing you to operate at levels beyond what you previously imagined possible. Comfort zones limit not only what you do, but also what you believe you are capable of achieving. By intentionally stretching yourself, challenging habitual patterns, and confronting the unknown, you progressively redefine your potential and create space for extraordinary accomplishment. Mental growth is central to expanding capacity. The mind often resists change, clinging to familiar patterns of thought and behavior. To push past limits, you must cultivate awareness of these mental constraints and actively choose to challenge them. This involves questioning assumptions, learning new perspectives, and embracing ideas that stretch your understanding. Each time you confront a limiting belief and replace it with one rooted in possibility and purpose, you expand your mental horizons. This growth allows you to approach challenges with creativity, adaptability, and a heightened problem-solving ability, equipping you to navigate situations that previously would have felt insurmountable. Emotional growth is equally important. Comfort zones are often reinforced by emotional attachments, fear of failure, need for approval, or attachment to certainty. To expand capacity, you must cultivate emotional resilience, learning to manage fear, discomfort, and uncertainty without being controlled by them. Emotional detachment does not mean indifference. It means mastery, the ability to act intentionally and purposefully even when emotions urge retreat. By confronting emotional resistance repeatedly, you develop confidence in your ability to handle challenges, and your emotional bandwidth increases, allowing you to remain calm, decisive, and focused in high-pressure situations. Spiritual growth amplifies capacity by rooting your actions in values, purpose, and higher consciousness. When your efforts are guided by a sense of meaning beyond immediate outcomes, you operate from a place of integrity, clarity, and alignment. Spiritual awareness allows you to perceive opportunities, discern the lessons in challenges, and maintain a steadfast commitment to growth even in adversity. It connects your actions to a larger trajectory of purpose, making every risk, every challenge, and every act of courage part of a coherent journey toward personal evolution. Expanding capacity also requires consistent action. Potential remains dormant until it is activated through effort, experimentation, and engagement with discomfort. Each deliberate step beyond familiarity strengthens skills, reinforces resilience, and builds the practical and psychological resources needed to tackle increasingly complex challenges. This cumulative growth compounds over time, creating exponential development that transforms what once felt impossible into achievable reality. Ultimately, expanding personal capacity is the process of becoming more than you were yesterday, more than fear and limitation would allow, and more than the circumstances around you might suggest. By integrating mental, emotional, and spiritual growth, aligning actions with purpose, and committing to consistent effort, you stretch the boundaries of possibility. Each step beyond comfort, each challenge embraced, and each fear confronted contributes to a life defined not by limitation, but by continuous evolution, profound capability, and the capacity to achieve more than you ever thought possible. Continual challenge is the crucible in which transformation is forged. For growth and achievement do not emerge from ease, familiarity, or comfort. To push beyond limits and expand your potential, you must consistently place yourself in situations that test your resilience, stretch your abilities, and confront your fears. The very act of facing challenges over and over again builds strength, sharpens skill, and deepens self-awareness. It is through this process that limitations are redefined, confidence is fortified, and the capacity to navigate life with clarity and purpose is developed. Challenges compel you to confront the boundaries you have unconsciously accepted. Each obstacle reveals where fear, doubt, or habit has held you back, and each deliberate effort to overcome it reshapes your understanding of what is possible. When you embrace challenge as a necessary and integral part of growth, you begin to see every difficulty not as a threat, but as an opportunity for expansion. Resistance, uncertainty, and struggle become tools rather than hindrances, guiding you to explore new approaches, refine your strategies, and deepen your perseverance. Consistency in embracing challenge is essential. Transformation does not occur in isolated moments of courage, but through the repeated act of stepping beyond comfort zones. Each encounter with difficulty, no matter how small, compounds over time, reinforcing resilience and increasing capacity. The cumulative effect of these deliberate challenges builds a foundation of inner strength that is unshakable, empowering you to face progressively greater obstacles with clarity and confidence. With each success, your belief in your own abilities grows, creating a feedback loop of courage, capability, and achievement. Challenges also cultivate emotional and spiritual detachment, a critical component of purposeful growth. When you engage with difficulty without clinging to specific outcomes or being paralyzed by fear, you act from a place of inner strength rather than reactive impulse. This detachment allows you to respond thoughtfully, learn from experience, and maintain equilibrium in the face of adversity. By refusing to allow discomfort to dictate your decisions, you exercise mastery over your emotions and reinforce your capacity to act decisively, even under pressure. The alignment of challenge with purpose amplifies its transformative effect. Facing obstacles without a guiding vision can feel arbitrary or draining. But when challenges are approached with clarity about your goals and values, they become stepping stones toward meaningful achievement. Purpose provides direction, focus, and motivation, ensuring that every effort contributes to your long-term growth and the realization of your potential. The discomfort experienced in pursuing these challenges is contextualized within a larger trajectory of personal and professional evolution, making each trial not just bearable but essential. Ultimately, continual challenge is the mechanism through which extraordinary growth is achieved. It stretches limits, strengthens confidence, cultivates resilience, and fosters self-mastery. By consistently engaging with difficulty, confronting fear, and embracing discomfort with intention and purpose, you transform obstacles into catalysts, resistance into momentum, and potential into achievement. Every challenge undertaken becomes a deliberate step toward a life defined by possibility, impact, and authentic fulfillment, revealing the vastness of what is attainable when courage, effort, and purpose converge. Breaking free from comfort zones is not a single act. It is a lifestyle, a disciplined choice to embrace discomfort, challenge, and uncertainty in pursuit of growth. Every step beyond familiarity is an investment in your potential, a declaration that fear will no longer dictate the boundaries of your life. Courage is forged in the moments when hesitation tempts you to retreat. Resilience is strengthened when resistance tests your resolve, and confidence is built when action aligns with purpose. The extraordinary life you envision exists just beyond the limits you have accepted. It awaits those willing to step forward, confront fear, and expand their capacity with deliberate intention. Every challenge embraced, every fear faced, and every boundary surpassed becomes proof that you are capable of more than you have ever imagined, and that transformation is always possible when you choose to live boldly, act decisively, and refuse to be confined by comfort.